Hello, my name is Meshach and I have something to say. First of all, I'm giving honor to God, my pastor, and I just want to say this is part two, LIHI. Today we're going to talk about how I started there, and I actually went through. My pastor was submitted for a residency with their tiny home village, Miracle Temple Tiny Home Village, and at that point I met, I believe his name was Joe, and he offered me the key holder position for that particular campsite, and I accepted. So I interviewed with Joe and did another interview, and I was supposed to do another interview with a John Brown, who I never actually met. But instead, Joe was replaced, and then all of a sudden we had Mark Robinson. And so I met Mark Robinson, and right off the bat, we did not hit it off. The man doesn't let you talk. He wants to say everything first, and he wants to ignore any direct questions that you have to ask about your own situation. So that didn't go over very well. And all of a sudden, the keyholder position just evaporated. And so one day I saw Daniel Weiss, and Daniel Weiss is he was supposed to be the manager or some sort of a coordinator. So I went and spoke to him because he was over Mark Robinson. And while I'm talking to him, in the middle of our conversation, this man decides to answer his phone and walk away. So at that point, I'm like, okay, screw the position. I really don't need it. I'll just go from there. And so I continued to stay there and work on my social services. I met with the case manager, Muhammad, and we didn't really get along. I mean, he kept on talking to me about things that I'd already verified, options I've already decided, and it just didn't seem like anything was going anywhere. And so we kind of stopped meeting. And then at some point, from the beginning of the time we were there, I believe I moved in October of 2022, and I was there until April of 2023. So in the beginning of moving into a tiny home village, you have to sign LIHI's Code of Conduct form. Now, the Code of Conduct basically says no drugs, no alcohol, no violent behaviors, no outburst. So everybody signed that. But from day one until the day I left, there was one client who continued to yell obscenities and insult female clients, even in the middle of the night, 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. And my particular unit was right next to the bathroom. So every time he went to the restroom and the restroom was dirty, he steps outside and he's known to everybody else, whoever made the mess, that the restroom's dirty, and then he starts to insult females again. So after a year of this, I was kind of frustrated and fed up because, I mean, it went against the code of conduct, and it basically contradicted everything that LIHI is supposed to stand for. So one day after my surgery, I had knee surgery, and after my surgery, I came back and I hadn't taken any of my meds, my pain meds or anything like that, and I saw this client talking to both Mark Robinson and Daniel Weiss. So I said to Mark Robinson, "Hey Mark, could you please tell client to stop cursing in the middle of the night and stop degrading women? Because if he doesn't, I'm gonna kick his ass." And at that point, Daniel speaks up and he says, "That's against the code of conduct. You can't threaten people." I was like, "I'm not threatening. I'm actually passing on a message. I'm fed up with it. It should have been handled about a year ago because it violated the code of conduct, but you guys don't want to do anything, whether you're afraid of him or whatever. I don't know, but you don't want to do anything." So from that point on, I was actually exited. And exited means that you are actually asked to leave. You're banned from the village. You can't come back anymore. You can't receive any services or any referrals for permanent housing. So I was exited. Now, before I was exited, I had made at least 2 or 3 accommodation requests, both for my bed and for my bed for my back, and then one for a handrail so I can get up the 2 or 3 steps due to my multiple sclerosis and due to my recent knee surgery. And neither of those were accommodated. So at the point when I was exited for saying this to the Mark Robinson in front of this client, I had to file an appeal. I filed the appeal. Guess who's in charge of the appeal process? Daniel Weiss. So Daniel Weiss and what other upper management decided that my appeal was approved, and I was moved to Camp Second Chance off of Myers Way, like around the hill, down the hill from West Seattle. This camp, the Temple Village had like maybe 20, 30 homes in it. Camp Second Chance has about 70. And so out of the 70 homes, when they exited me, Daniel, in his wise position, decided that he was going to exit me, and he wanted me to go to the Camp Second Chance. And in Camp Second Chance, he spoke with a Michelle Yellowrobe, and I guess they both decided that I needed to stay in unit number 20, which was the last unit from the front gate. And this was right after my knee surgery, and this was after at least 2 or 3 letters from my physician, from my surgeon, from my physical therapist, asking them to allow me bed rest time for 30 days. And considering this was my first major violation of the code of conduct, I really shouldn't have been moved. The client who was doing all this cursing for over a year is the one who should have been moved. But the bad thing is I was black, the client was white, Mark Robinson is white, Daniel Weiss is white, and then they send me to Camp Second Chance where Michelle Yellowrobe is there, and basically she just got her nose so far up Daniel's butt that she's only going to do what he says. Well, I'm pretty sure he's the one who said, move him down to the last unit. And I actually have a video on my phone of how long it took me with my walker after knee surgery to walk from the village, from the unit they put me in, all the way up to the front gate, which was about 7 minutes. A person with no injuries could do that walk in about maybe 2. So I went there, stayed in that unit for 1 night, maybe 2, and then I went back up to the front desk, the coordinator, and I told her, I said, I will be in my truck until you find me a closer unit. And I did. And upon, even coming to Camp Second Chance, Michelle Yellowrobe was like all over me. She was like, you can't park here. This is staff parking. I was like, okay, so where's the disability parking? We don't have any. Okay, well, I'm disabled. I have multiple sclerosis. I just had knee surgery. I need to park close to the entrance. Well, that's not my problem. Okay. So, whatever. She's small potatoes. So I didn't really care. So I parked somewhere else. Tried to park as close as I could whenever the opportunity presented itself. When it didn't, I parked in one of their spots. And at some point, I approached Michelle again and I asked her, I said, when are you guys going to actually designate some disability parking? And she goes, that's not our property. We don't own that. That belongs to the city. If it belongs to the city, how are you going to tell me that I can't park in certain spots? I didn't understand that. Not at all. I couldn't comprehend how one day she's telling me where to park and the next day she's telling me she has no control over the parking. So that was frustrating. But after that, it just seemed to get worse. It was like the only person that I had as an advocate in that camp, other than the actual like general workers at the front desk, was my case manager, Christy Flynn. And she was very, very phenomenal as far as assisting me with getting my social services together, as far as making sure that I could apply for apartments and get them, making sure I submitted my social security application again because I'd already been denied. And she helped out with quite a bit of that. And so her doing that, it assisted me in also registering for HIN, the House and Essential Needs Program. And they approved me, so I was also in HIN and getting these bags and doing the things that I need to do to try and do better in my life and try and do better for myself so I can get out of there, because Camp Second Chance is just a cesspool of addicts with at least 3 drug houses, and management knew about these houses and these activities and turned a blind eye. And I'm saying Daniel and Daniel and what was her name? Yellow Robe knew about this, and at some point it seems like they just overlooked it like it wasn't even happening. And so how do you expect someone to get clean if you allow your next client to set up a drug house right next to them? That is going to discourage them from doing what they need to do to clean up their lives, improve their social status, and do better for themselves. Those who want to do better for themselves. The ones who don't want to do better for themselves, why are they still here? Why have they been here for almost 3 years? Why are their dogs biting other dogs and staff members, and they're still here? So on my next episode of My Name is Meshach and I Have Something to Say, we're going to go ahead and go from there on the attacks from the dogs, the treatment from the management, and we'll also talk about the numerous incident reports that I submitted that they somehow all of a sudden lost. God bless and have a great day.